And welcome to the Backstage Antique Appraisal Show. This show is being produced on location at the historical Riverside Township Hall. The antique appraisers on today's show are from Arcade Antiques and Forget Me Not. Let's get started with our first antique appraisal now.
Hi. This evening we have Chris here with some books from two different time frames. This is Heidi, and it's the Shirley Temple edition, so it would be from the 1930s, I believe 1937, and it's actually put out at the time of the film. It says inside the book, there's a black and white photo, is still from the movie. It says inside the book that it's a 20th Century Fox picture. It's got a little bit of looseness to the binding and a little bit of damage to it, but people who collect Shirley Temple would certainly like this book. I'd say probably in its current condition, it's probably about $15. The Bobbsey twins, now this is the first of the Bobbsey twin stories, however, it's not the first printing. This set by Laura Lee Hope was probably as popular in, when was this done? Turn of the century? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the turn of the century as Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys were in the 50s and 60s. This particular book, once again, has a little bit of damage to it, but the Bobbsey twins are very popular, and it's in a little bit better condition. If you put a little bit of paste on here and paste it down, it would probably go for about $12 to $18. All right. But the real treasure you brought here is this wonderful sled. What can you tell us about this sled?
Well, the only thing I really know about it is that it was my grandfather's. I guess it's from around the 20s, 30s, about that area. That's all I really know about it.
It's got wonderful deco form to it. It's got the vertical striping that was popular in the period. There's some old red stain left on it. It's really in wonderful condition. All you'd need to do is take some fine steel wool to it, wax it up or oil it, and you've got a really nice heirloom here. It's probably worth right now about $175 to $225. I would display it by my fireplace or by my door at Christmas or even all year round. If you have a bar, I don't know if you've ever been to TGIF, but you could hang it over the bar and put something strange sitting on it. Just use it.
Yeah. It'll hold a lot of nice things. Teddy bears, wooden beer cases.
Armadillos.
Really great armadillos. Yeah. It's very, very nice. Thank you, Chris, for bringing this tonight.
Hi, we have a couple of pieces here from Rob. Where did you get this book?
Actually, it's my fiance's mother. She got it when she was in grade school.
Really? Oh, that's really neat. It's the night before Christmas, and as we noticed earlier, it's profusely illustrated from Donahue in Chicago, and this particular book is very much in demand. It has a lot of illustrations, as is indicated by the title piece, and it's probably from, turn of century, 1910. And I'd say in this condition, it's in very nice condition. It's just a little bit loose in its binding. I would say in this condition, it's probably about a $45 to $65 book.
You want to tell us something about this, Reb?
That's also from my fiance's mother. She bought that when it was original. She never listened to it. She unwrapped it, but she never listened to it. The record, if you look at it, the record has no scratches on it at all. And everything is included, too.
This was made in England by the Beatles and recorded in 1967. So this was after their heyday. Well, they still had their heyday here, but they went back to do a couple things on previous commitments. It has a wonderful book in excellent condition with black and white as well as color photos. Rob tells us the album was never played, and the Beatles, to this day, everybody worships the Beatles. I was watching Ringo Starr this morning on TV, and he admitted he's going to be 60 next week, so we all felt good about that. I would say that this is probably worth between $350 and $450. It's a very nice piece, and I would seal it up again, put it in saran wrap or
Shrink wrap.
Shrink wrap. It's very nice. Thank you for bringing that.
Thank you.
Anna's brought us 3 very interesting scales. One is a traveler scale, solid brass, the little weights, and a beautiful travel case of walnut. Couple little drawers, and one of the drawers has a paper in saying that the last time it was used was about in 1897. It's very, very attractive. She brought a little, again, another little traveling scale with the weights and a walnut case. It has the little brass weights, little brass trays with the brass things. And this looks like a postal scale or something for perhaps powder if it was a pharmacy. Dawn, you want to make some comments on these, or?
You know, I think these two, at least, if not this one, seem to be of English origin. And I would guess this one probably to be about 1900 from the style. I could be wrong, but I think that's the time frame. It's got a really nice little box with it, which makes it a little bit more special. And I believe that you said these are doubloon weights. Yes. How did you come by these scales?
My brother had an antique store in LA, and when he closed down, he knew there were some items I really loved, and he sent them to me. Now, where he purchased them, I have no idea. You know, it could have been any place. He would go to Europe, and I have no idea.
So you started to collect scales?
Well, not necessarily. Just things that are unusual and different attract my eye very much. So, not even the value, but just if I like it. And these are just so unique. I've never seen anything.
This is a nice size for miniature collection.
Yeah.
Very nice.
This glass is removable too. Why, I don't know.
So you can get at the goodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lifts.
I would say that this is probably 95 to 150.
This one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This little scale, probably just around 35 to 45. It's not brass, it's just brass plated over base metal.
Mm-hmm. It's a fairly common style.
Okay.
And this little puppy, I would say, is about $350 to $450. Beautiful wood, all tongue and groove, walnut, nicely hinged, and it's just very compact, very, very nice. Anna put these on a nice bookshelf and enjoy them. They're very attractive.
There's no room in my house.
Make room.
Make room.
They'd be nice on a coffee table.
Yeah.
It's like people say, I don't have any room for a piano. You make room for a piano.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Anna, for bringing these.
Okay.
Richard brought us a pair of beautiful steins. Richard, you want to tell us how you acquired these and a little history on them?
Sure. These were part of my dad's antique collection. This is an English stein that he's had for many, many years. And this one was made in the state of Saxony in Germany, near where he came from, but many years ago. And it is crystal with pewter, and this is all pewter.
It's got the rampant lions and the shield. This is really a wonderful piece. All the work, all the detail that went into it. It's touch marked here as it should be. And also on the base. Mm-hmm. It's really a wonderful piece. Marked leader on the handle, so you're not going to miss what that is.
This is beautiful cut glass with the thumbprint that was all, this was machine cut, and the top is faceted and encased in pewter. This is just an exception. It's got a little gnome on the top, and he's happy, but the gleam of the glass is outstanding. It's like looking at a diamond. I would value this particular stein at about $250 to $350. And Dawn, what do you think of this one?
I think somewhere around $195, $2 1/4. Someone, however, who's more into the English pewter in an English market, you'd probably be able to get more than that.
I see.
But they're just beautiful. I thought this might be a little more, only because you don't see steins like this anymore. Stein collectors would go nuts for both of these. They're beautiful, Richard.
Thank you.
Fill them with you know what and come see me.
Ken brought us this really great book tonight. It's called Picturesque America. It's in a wonderful leather binding, although the binding has some problems. The binding can be repaired, Ken. There are quite a few people in the Chicago area that repair bindings on books. It's got this wonderful old paper that they used to use to do the inside covers. That's one of the ways that you know that you have a quality book. This book is full of engravings. I just love this cover. And it's not going to show up very well. This is Niagara Falls. Another way you can tell that this is a quality book is the fact that it has pages in between each print. That way they don't print onto each other, and it protects them from the ink. This is really a great illustration. I don't want to damage the binding anymore, but I'd like to show it off. The illustration for the frontispiece is wonderful. This is from New York by D. Appleton and Company, who are the publishers. And this is volume 1, so this was a multi-volume set. I can only imagine how wonderful it must have been to have the entire set. This one covers the mountains, rivers, lakes, forests, waterfalls, shores, canyons, valleys, cities, and other picturesque features of our country. I don't know what they missed that they had to do multiple volumes. A book in this condition with this type of lithography work, and then all the history that goes with it, I would value today at probably $175.
Too good to throw away.
That's
Absolutely. Now, you said you got this out of a dumpster?
It was headed for the dumpster. And I couldn't believe it, so I took it, and I've had it since about 15 years.
I bet you've enjoyed looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wonderful piece.
Almost afraid to look at it.
Thank you
for
very
bringing
much.
Let's take a break from our antique appraising and meet with our first antique appraiser, Kay Snyder from Arcade Antiques.
My mother always had beautiful things. She collected French, and she had a lot of Dresden and French furniture, and I thought everybody had nice things, and then when I was out to see other people's houses, they didn't have what my mother had, so she really trained us into it. I enjoy antiques because you can see the beauty of things that were made in the scarcity, the lack of availability, and it's something that is a part of history, and you'll never see the quality of what was made many years ago again. Everything is mass-produced today. I did a bird screen from 1840 that was African hummingbirds, and it was brought in from Colorado, and we had it in the store for a while, and it was purchased by a connoisseur, and it had 35 rare and extinct birds in the case. It was all glass case and carved rosewood, and it stood about 4 feet tall, and the person purchased it and then later on donated to the Avery section of the Brookfield Zoo, and it's on display there. I collect camels. I have 240 camels in my collection. Wow. I have camel lamps, camel statues, and I have bronze, pot metal, fine porcelain. I love camels. I think I must have been an Arab in a former life or something. I have a lot of Arabian things in my collection and Oriental rugs. The best thing right now are lamps of panel stained and what have you, because they're becoming very scarce to find original ones. I am paying now, 3 years ago, what I sold them for. That's what I'm paying now to get authentic lamps and to find the lamps.
Happy to welcome this evening Judy Burt, our estate treasurer, and she's brought some wonderful pieces along, and she's going to tell us how she came upon this piece.
Yeah, well, it's a sampler, or at least it's stitched, and it comes from a house in Berwyn. My parents were in real estate, and this is about, I came into it, to having this about 20 years ago, and my mother said that they had this house for sale, and I said, oh, would they be breaking up the sale? They were leaving the state, and she said yes, and they let us in ahead of time. And I went through like a little locust, and this particular thing was of interest. The lady said that it's representative of the Crusades, and that all of these, you have the ladies of the court, and you have the knights down here, and things of this sort. She didn't have a complete explanation, but this is as I got it. It has never been changed, it's never been touched, and it came already framed. It's heavy.
Yeah,
It was woven like a coverlet would be woven originally, and then it does look like it was stitched on top of that. To me, that would date it in the mid to late 1800s. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. And the colors are also from, the type of colors that were used in that period.
This is cross stitch, isn't it? What do they call this?
Actually, it is cross stitch. It's cross stitch on top of the broadloom wave. I'm not sure what the material is, but I would guess that it's wool.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's never been out of the frame. This is,
And don't take
even
it
the
out.
framing is, they've got a piece of metal back here that
To
bolsters
support
it.
the
It's
weight.
a different sort of framing than I'm used to.
It's a wonderful piece. Value, I'm not sure where you would place it.
Probably around 300.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, 3 to 350.
And if you had to have this reframed, you'd probably pay that just for the frame.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, whoever did this many moons ago did a beautiful job. They didn't detract from the piece, and yet they gave it the support that it needs. It's very, very nice.
And they use museum quality glass, non-glare.
Non-glare glass.
Okay. Now these I just found as I amble around. I use going to estate sales and things of that sort as therapy from politics, where I can talk to real people instead of politicians. And I'm always on the hunt, and I found these in a house in Forest Park. And they were just kind of tossed aside. They really weren't even being displayed. They were in the basement. And but I had seen these in catalogs or version like this, like get all these catalogs, and I spent a lot of time in Kay's shop, and it looked familiar, and they were nice. And frankly, all they wanted for them, I can't tell you how much I paid for them.
You can tell us.
$5.
Oh, that was really nice.
Which, just general principles, it's a lot for $5.
These were popular in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. They were buffet pieces or dining room table pieces. They would put them on the table, and they put a council bowl in between them. Some dummy painted this gold at some point. They did a pretty nice job, but they're usually like a deep pewter color or a silver plate color. I think if you strip them, which would be very easy, just to dip them or get some Sears heavy-duty stripper and strip it, you'll see the beautiful color, and I think you'll enjoy them more.
Do you know what kind of metal it is?
It's a pot metal, which is what they use for making pots. It will break easy, but maybe the paint preserved these, I don't know, but they usually are silver. It's the hen and the mama and papa pheasants.
They are marked by the maker. It's PN & Company or PN&W, made in USA.
Yeah, they were big for making salt and pepper shakers
Novelties.
and nice little novelties. Pretend the paint isn't on. They would be worth about $125 without the paint. So strip them.
These birds are going to become strippers. Okay.
They're really nice. I mean, usually sometimes you see them, Judy, and the toes are knocked off because it is a soft metal or part of the tail. But it's kind of cute this way too.
I've seen them always in silver in catalogs. I thought, ooh, I had something really neat, because I had gold ones. Little I know that somebody just painted them.
Somebody wanted gold ones.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
much.
showing up tonight with your hectic schedule.
Nancy brought with her this evening a Revere ware copper kettle. It is tin lined. It's got a nice little dovetail applied handle, and nice, I think this is mahogany knob and top. It is marked on the bottom, Revereware. It's probably from the 1940s, we're guessing. Revereware is a very popular item. Most people who get them from their parents keep them. How did you come about this?
Well, my girlfriend, her husband collected some old stuff and stuff like that, and he passed away. And she had this in the closet, so she asked if I wanted it. I said, yeah, I'll take it, you know, I like old stuff, so.
They're very popular to put on kitchen shelves and have around the house, also to kind of put this ajar and put a plant coming out of it. I find that I can sell them in the shop from around $75.
Yes.
And they're well enjoyed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for bringing this.
Oh, thank you for having it.
Dorothy brought us a beautiful gold mesh purse that was made by Whiting and Davis. Whiting and Davis originally started out around 1910 on 26th Street in Chicago, and all their mesh would never fade, and they did it in silver and gold, and now they're someplace in New York, and they do other colors of mesh, and the mesh is bigger. This mesh is very fine. This is probably from mid-40s. Was this yours when you were?
No. I bought it.
You bought it?
Yeah, I just liked it. I thought it was so pretty.
Yeah, you'll never tire of it, and it'll never tarnish. This is not the original handle, however. The original handle would have been like that snake coil, and it would have been of this length, and it just would have been a very, very nice piece. The inside is very good. It's the silk pongee material. Pretend this has the original handle.
Okay.
If it had the original handle, this would be $150. With the chain handle, which is complementary to it, it would probably just be around $75. There used to be, because I used to collect a lot of Whiting and Davis, you used to be able to send it to the factory and they would refurbish the different pieces. I found that out after I threw one away. But I think if you got a hold of the address in New York, you could probably send this there and they would put a coil hoo-hoo on it for you. It's a very nice piece. And they're fun.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Marie brought this really wonderful sandwich serving tray in. It is black amethyst glass, and what is really neat is this design that is on it is in sterling silver. It's been applied to it, and you can see that right into the design they put sterling, which is rather unusual. You might usually find it on a corner or on the back or something like that, but to hide it in the design is a very unusual thing. And it's actually in a few places, I notice now. It's in 3 different places on there. I'm not positive what the name of this pattern is, and I've very recently looked it up. I think it's called Moosewood or Moose Forest, something like that. I would value it at about $75. That's because of the sterling.
Right.
You see a lot of these for about $20, but they don't have that wonderful sterling applied to them.
Thank you, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
I think it's by Imperial Glass, and I think it's black milk glass as opposed to black amethyst. I didn't see any purple in it. Black milk glass is very desirable. I get the door prize.
The way that you can tell the difference is if you hold it up to the light, you will see some purple if it's black milk glass. Although, I mean, if it's black amethyst.
I always get a kick out of people that when they show something, they say, I have the box, or if somebody wants to buy something, say, do you have the box? That just drives me crackers. You know, like you're not going to wear the box, you're not going to do the box and what have you, but this is a wonderful box. But it is not original to this section.
I see.
But it's a wonderful jewelry box, and again, it was from somebody at 48th, Cicero and 22nd, probably across the street from Western Electric.
Probably.
It says Chicago, but it really was Cicero, but maybe this is before they said Cicero. They didn't want to say Cicero. It's silk pongee lined. It's a simulated leather, and it's like brand new, and it's got to be at least 80 to 100 years old. The latch is perfect on it. Now, don't laugh at me. I'm going to tell you about the box, right?
Yeah.
The box is probably worth around $35. In the box, we had by Evans Manufacturing, a chrome and black enamel cigarette case. This used to hold like little Lucky Strikes or Camels or something, real tiny little cigarettes. We use these now to carry carrying cards, our business cards, because they're cute and you can flap them under there and it impresses everybody that you've got this spiffy credit card cigarette case. This is in very good condition. Of course, Chrom is virtually indestructible, and she's got the cute little lighter. It's a flint type, and whoever had this was J.B., Jim Beam, and
John Barrymore.
John Barrymore, that's good. And it's an excellent set. It looks like it really wasn't used that much. Again, this is probably from 1935 to 1945. It's very deco in flavor, and this would probably be about $100 to $125 for this set.
I see.
So it's kind of cute, but this box is really
You like
great.
that.
Put your pearls in here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I hope you're enjoying the Backstage Antique Appraisal Show. Let's take time to meet with our second appraiser, Don Chroma from Forget Me Not.
Well, I've been collecting for more than 21 years, and I've been selling as a result of that for about 19 years. Well, I collected my first antique, which was my husband 21 years ago, and he got me involved. It's interesting, and the history on the pieces, I really enjoy looking them up, learning about them. Just the historical aspect and the people I meet. I was doing an estate sale for this family, and it was in a closet on a top shelf, and nobody really knew anything about it. They didn't know it was still there. They hadn't realized that Uncle Ernie had been stuck in the closet all these years. And so they had to go back and find out what it was, who it was, I should say, before it meant a great deal to them. And even then they were like, well, what's the value of the urn? They brought me the urn, and felt that it was something they didn't know who owned it or who was in it. They just thought it was a nice decorative urn, and it was pretty strange. Right now, everything is wide open. People are buying everything from Beanie Babies to fine paintings. What I find sells the best for me is Victorian items, whether it's china or jewelry or things from that time frame. People seem to be collecting a lot of. And second to that would be nostalgia, things from our own childhoods, from the baby boomers' childhoods. Karen brought for our enjoyment this evening a McCoy Cookie Jar in the form of a rooster. McCoy had some wonderful artists that did this very sharp delineations in their sculpture. Probably in response, we were speaking a few minutes ago to Shawnee's popularity in cookie jars and in other pottery. McCoy really put a lot of work into houseware type things, more than their early art lines. It's marked on the bottom, McCoy, and for the most part, it's in really good condition. One thing you'll notice is that this brown coloration, this is under the glaze. The yellow is underneath the glaze. But they also picked out certain things with what they called cold paint, which is over the glaze. And unfortunately, this piece was placed in the dishwasher by someone.
It was cleaned.
It was cleaned. And people used to also clean these, I know, with scrub brushes, and don't do that if you have a piece because it does affect the value. Cookie jars are very collectible right now. McCoy is really collectible thanks to Martha Stewart and others, but Martha really helped along their popularity. I would say that this piece, in the condition that it's in, would probably fetch $250 to $275.
Right.
Don, can you tell us about this piece?
Well, I was a member of the press corps in 1972 that accompanied President Nixon to China on his historic trip to Red China. And this is a gift from the People's Republic of China to Don Farnham. And there's no literature with it. It's what you see is what you get. It's just a little plaque. It says President Nixon's historic trip to China, and this little, it says, with the compliments of the government of the People's Republic of China. It's written in Chinese and in English.
And then this is the fob that says that it's from the trip with President Nixon.
That's right. So.
And you wanted to talk a little bit about this vase?
It's a piece of celadon, which has been around for thousands of years, but not this particular piece, but it's a technique that the Chinese people use to make it. It's a beautiful celadon green and has a very fine finish on it. It has little ram's head ears, and then it's on a little pedestal. It's a very attractive piece. Again, we're going to talk about boxes. It's in the original presentation box, which, you know, clever these Chinese. This is going to outlast all of us. This is like a silk. It looks like cardboard, but it's a patterned silk overlay on probably camphor wood. They were big on camphor wood. And it has cute little backing to it, glass, and it's like, it looks like Houdini's box, the way it works. It's highly engineered. The condition of it is perfect. Historically, I can't say what it would be worth, but that's wonderful that you were with President Nixon. And that was a wonderful, wonderful time when he opened up the doors to Red China, to America. I would say that the vase is worth about $500 in the case. The little medallion would probably be $150 to $250. That's very important. And you're probably the only one in the state of Illinois that has it.
Yes, I am.
Well, and as a package, that would probably bring it up, as long as he keeps it together as a package.
And maybe write the little stories sometimes so you can tell Don Jr. and Junior, because it's really nice, Don.
It's a wonderful piece. Thank you. And this piece is also very interesting that you brought. Can you tell us about this?
Well, this belongs to my daughter-in-law, Susan, and her parents picked it up, bought it at a yard sale in the early 60s. And there's no instruction book. There's a little clipping here that mentions cosmic rays, and it's violet ray, and then there's flip the knob to ozone and put the mask on, and it's a cure-all. It's good for dandruff and fallen arches and everything else.
It's what we now call a quackery device. I would assume it works. Most of these still work. I've seen one of them in action, and they can pick quite a wallop. What they would do is they would take this piece and they would take a glass tube and fit it into the end. When it is turned on, it would actually glow almost like with neon in a purple or a bluish color. And usually it's the static electricity that you're feeling, depending on how high you have it turned up, that would make you feel like you were being rejuvenated. Yeah. Actually, they're coming back out with these devices. I have seen them advertised. It's a popular alternative therapy these days. Right. So what goes around does come around. Value on these is all over the place because quackery devices are so popular. Last time that I sold one, I think I got one, it was not quite, did not have quite as many pieces as this. I think it was $175. This one I'd say probably more like $250.
Well, thank you.
Very interesting piece.
This is pre-Viagra, Dan.
Herman brought this fabulous, really wonderful bedspread in. It is a rayon chenille bedspread, we think from probably the 20s, perhaps the 30s. How did you get this?
My grandmother had it. I saw it when I was about 12 years old in the 1930s. And after the war, my mother went back to Italy. In the late 1940s, she brought it back with her. So it's been in our family a long time. So now my wife has got it, but we haven't used it. It's been wrapped up.
It's in fabulous
pristine condition. Yeah. This could be Italy because of the poopies.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. These were made frequently in France and Belgium. It could also be made in Italy. Fabulous, fabulous piece, and very, very, very collectible at this point. I've seen a few of them comparable. They almost always have the little cherubs on them in some way, shape, or form. I guess that was to give you sweet dreams.
That's right.
Supposedly.
And I would value this piece probably at $350 to $500.
It's beautiful, Herman. Yeah. So the colors are so vibrant, and it's just a wonderful piece. Yeah. When you roll it up, roll it inside out.
Yeah, he had it inside. He's good. He's good. These are wonderful.
Yeah.
It's
And,
just...
you know, everybody loves it. As a matter of fact, my wife was going to put it on the wall, but she never did.
Well, in a way, she probably saved it because rayon has a habit of rotting if
And
it's
then
hanging.
stretching. It's just, but this is like a nice, real heavy.
But it wouldn't
like a
hurt to
duck.
put it on a bed, probably, as long as you give it a rest every now and then.
Yours or mine?
Mine.
Great.
Thank you.
Andre and Ashley brought us 3 cute little toys. They are cousins, and how did you acquire these?
We found them at a garage sale when we were like 4 years old, and we bought them. And this one was my mom's when she was little.
Do you keep the little Huggies in your in a case, or because they're very good condition? You haven't been playing with them.
No, we got them for my grandma to put in her clown collection, and she keeps it in a case.
Very good. Dawn, you want to talk about those?
These are probably, I would say, from the 70s. It's when these little Huggies were very popular. You squeeze their little arms and they hang on. Used to hang them all over the place. I think I remember putting them on my rearview mirror. They're clowns, which gives them a double, a crossover collectible area. I would say that they probably are valued at $5 to $15 a piece at this time. This piece is interesting. I don't know if your mom has the key anymore, but he's a little wind-up toy from Japan, and when wound up, he would go around in circles and his bell would ring. And because he's a Santa Claus and he's a tricycle with kind of what I would call rip-off symbols on it, we have Pluto, but of course it's not really Pluto. And we have Porky Pig, but it's not really Porky Pig. And I guess that's Curious George. The Japanese were known for doing that kind of thing. Because of that fact, and because he's a Christmas toy, right now he would be about $75. But you need to try and find it.
Marita brought us a berry set from the turn of the century. The Master Bowl is from Bavaria and marked Art Studio, and the cute little berry dishes, of which she has 5, are marked KPM, which is also Berlin. The set is appropriately called the berry set because it does have the berries, but it's a very attractive set. The shadowing and the colors are exceptional. This was probably done in the studios of KPM, or a studio, the art studio in Berlin, as opposed to somebody doing it at home. In the Cicero and Berwyn area, in the 1910 to 1940, there was a lot of hand-painted china clubs, and the women, I don't know when they found time to do it, would sit all gathered together and they would do painting. I think this was a studio piece because the artist didn't sign them. Usually, sometimes they put their little signatures in the leaves or something, but they didn't do it. It's a very attractive set. I think it originally had 6 little berry dishes, and one of your relatives kept one because they liked it. And I would say this set is probably $150 to $200 today. It's a very nice set. The gold is not worn. I think it was just probably used as cabinet pieces.
That's all.
Yeah, it would sit in a cabinet and on the back, and then this would. It's very, very good condition.
This was given to my mother in 1923 when she was married. So, this has got some age to it.
Yeah, it would give us the age. And actually, these blanks, which is what they're done on, are before the turn of the century. These are probably around 1870, 1880. And this particular KPM mark, I would say about 1870.
Yeah.
Very attractive.
So 1870s when this set would have been?
That's when the porcelain was made. It was probably painted at a later date. Berry sets were very much in vogue from 1890 to about 1920. Everybody had to have berry sets. Everybody had to have pitchers of little tumblers, and a lot of times they would do little grape sets, and they would paint the different grapes on the dishes. Very nice set. Don't use it.
No, it hasn't been used. It's always been just a showpiece.
Yes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Piece.
Appreciate it.
Lovely set.
Thanks for watching Backstage Antiques. We hope you enjoyed the antique appraisals on today's show. I'm Melissa Manzuelo, and we'll see you next time.